Have you ever heard of the war that literally shaped the map of the United States? I'm not talking about the Revolution or the Civil War. I'm talking about a conflict that's often just a footnote in history books, but whose impact is still felt every single day: the Mexican-American War. This isn't just a story of battles and treaties. It's a story of ambition, destiny, and the dramatic, often brutal, forging of a nation. So, grab a seat, because we're about to uncover the untold story of the war that redefined North America. It all starts, as many conflicts do, with a line on a map. Or rather, the disagreement over where that line should be. After Texas gained independence from Mexico in 1836 and was later annexed by the United States in 1845, a major dispute erupted. The U.S. claimed the Rio Grande as the southern border of Texas, while Mexico insisted it was the Nueces River further north. This wasn't just a minor disagreement. We're talking about a massive resource piece of land. Resource. Rewrote. Resource. Reserves. Rescad. Resource. Relat. Rewar. Real. You will you. To they you. You for to see you do we do. Wick. Do you do you s. Too many to sh. Tensions simmered, patrols clashed, and this unresolved border dispute became the spark that would soon ignite a full-blown war. But the fuse had been lit long before. There was a powerful idea sweeping across the United States in the 1840s. An idea called manifest destiny. It was the belief that the United States was divinely ordained to expand its dominion and spread democracy and capitalism across the entire North American continent. It was more than just a political slogan. It was a cultural phenomenon that justified westward expansion with a sense of righteous, almost holy, purpose. President James K. Polk, a fervent believer in this doctrine, saw the acquisition of territories like California and New Mexico as the fulfillment of America's destiny. This powerful, expansionist ideology provided the fuel, turning a border dispute into a national crusade for territory. The stage was set for a conflict that was about much more than just a river. In April 1846, the simmering tensions finally boiled over. After a clash between U.S. and Mexican troops in the disputed territory, President Polk went before Congress and declared that Mexico had shed American blood upon the American soil. War was declared. From the outset, the U.S. military, though smaller, was generally better equipped and had more professional leadership. The conflict was fought on multiple fronts. General Zachary Taylor led forces into northern Mexico securing key victories at Palo Alto and Monterrey. At the same time, Colonel Stephen Kearny marched west, capturing Santa Fe in New Mexico with little resistance. Perhaps most famously, an American expedition under Captain John C. Fremont helped instigate the Bear Flag Revolt in California, leading to American control of the vast territory. The war was a series of strategic and often brutal campaigns that pushed deeper and deeper into Mexican land. The decisive blow, however, came from the sea. In a daring amphibious assault, General Winfield Scott landed an army at Veracruz, one of Mexico's most important ports. From there, his forces began a grueling 260-mile march toward the heart of the enemy, Mexico City. Along the way, they faced determined resistance at battles like Cerro Gordo and Churubusco. A key moment came at the Battle of Chapultepec, a fortress defending the capital, where young Mexican military cadets, the Niños Heroes, famously fought to the death. Despite this heroic resistance, Scott's army entered Mexico City in September 1847, effectively ending the major combat operations of the war. The capture of the capital was a stunning military achievement that forced Mexico to the negotiating table. The war officially concluded with the signing of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848. The terms were staggering. Mexico was forced to cede over 525,000 square miles of territory to the United States. This enormous land transfer, known as the Mexican Cession, included the land that makes up present-day California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of Colorado and Wyoming. In exchange, the United States paid Mexico a modest sum of $15 million and agreed to assume $3.25 million in debt owed by the Mexican government to U.S. citizens. With the stroke of a pen, the United States had grown by a third, its manifest destiny seemingly fulfilled. The map of North America was permanently redrawn, but the consequences of this massive territorial gain were just beginning to unfold back home. You see, this new land came with a massive, unresolved question. Would it be free, or would it permit slavery? The war dramatically intensified the already heated debate over slavery's expansion. Abolitionists in the North, who had largely opposed the war as an immoral land grab designed to create more slave states, were horrified. Pro-slavery advocates in the South saw the new territories as a vital opportunity to expand their economic and political power. This tension led to fiery political battles, such as the Wilmot Proviso, which attempted to ban slavery in any territory acquired from Mexico. Though it never passed the Senate, it exposed the deep and growing sectional divide in the country. The Mexican-American War, in essence, threw gasoline on the fire of the slavery debate, pushing the nation one giant step closer to the inevitable collision of the Civil War just over a decade later. Beyond the political turmoil, the Mexican-American War served as a crucial training ground for the men who would become the most famous generals of the Civil War. A remarkable number of future leaders from both the Union and the Confederacy got their first real taste of combat and command in Mexico. On one side, you had men like Ulysses S. Grant and William Tecumseh Sherman. On the other, Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson, and Jefferson Davis. They learned invaluable lessons about logistics, strategy, and leading men under fire. Lee, for instance, distinguished himself as a brilliant staff officer under Winfield Scott, while Grant observed and learned, later applying these experiences with devastating effect. In a very real sense, the battlefields of Mexico were the classrooms where the tactics and strategies of the American Civil War were first honed and tested. The legacy of the Mexican-American War extends far beyond the 19th century. For Mexico, the war was a national trauma, resulting in the loss of nearly half its territory and leaving a lasting sense of bitterness and mistrust toward its northern neighbor. The phrase, "Poor Mexico, so far from God, so close to the United States," perfectly captures this sentiment. For the United States, the war's legacy is more complex. It cemented the nation's status as a continental power, but it did so through a conflict that many at the time and since have viewed as a war of aggression. The relationship between the U.S. and Mexico today, with all its complexities surrounding borders, immigration, and economic partnership, is still deeply influenced by the events of the 1840s. The ghosts of Chapultepec and Guadalupe Hidalgo linger, shaping modern diplomacy and identity on both sides of the border that this war created. So, the next time you look at a map of the United States, remember the story we've talked about today. The vast American Southwest wasn't just empty land waiting to be settled. It was acquired through a controversial and consequential war. A war fueled by the powerful idea of manifest destiny. A war that accelerated the country's path to civil war. And a war whose legacy continues to define the relationship between two of the world's largest neighbors. It is a central chapter in the story of how the United States, and indeed North America, became what it is today. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into history. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more untold stories that shaped our world. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a new video. We'll see you in the next one.